So we've talked about story goals. Does there only have to be one, or can you have multiple? Let's talk about it. Hey all, I'm author Cassie. Thanks so much for joining me on my channel today. Our question that we're asking today is, if you have a story goal, which you should, can there be multiple, or do you only have one? Are you limited to one? And the answer is easy. No, it doesn't have to have one. If you have one, that's great, especially if you have a simple story, a short story. The shorter, more simple the story, the less story goals you should have. However, each and every character who is important to the story should have something that they're striving for, they're working towards, something that they want. And then there are stories where the overarching story goal, the whole thing, has an A goal and it stays the whole story, or there's some stories that have an A goal and then at some point there's something that changes and everything flip-flops and they have a B goal to finish the story. So let's show you some examples. Okay, so let's talk about story goals that have only an A goal, meaning that the goal reaches from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. Our first example is Antman. I love this movie, number one, and number two is because the goals are so easy to see. Scott, who's also the Antman, has one clear goal. He wants to be a part of his daughter Cassie's life. That is why he does everything that he does. That is why he chooses to do the whole Antman thing and the whole heist in this story. So that is amazing and easy to see. Then Dr. Pym, if you want to pull another character from the show, he has one clear goal as well, and that is to stop people from using his Pym particle, especially Darren. He does not want that. So both of them have very clear A goals that span the entire story. Some other really good examples of stories that have A goals, again, we're going to the movies because it's something that you can watch and learn this concept really fast, is Moana. Moana's main goal the whole time is to get the heart of Te Fiti back where it belongs. At first, it's all about getting Maui to do it, and in the end, she does it, but that's the goal, from A to B, getting that heart there. She also has an internal goal of trying to figure out where she belongs. Again, that reaches from the beginning to the end. So a story doesn't always have one main goal and that's it. Sometimes there are multiple ones stacked on top of each other. This one has two great A goal stories. Another example is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. This is a really fun rom-com and it is very clear to see the goals in this movie. So Ben, his whole goal is to win a bet, and Andy, her whole goal is to write an article. And it's so fun when their goals are pitted against each other because that's what makes all the drama and the fun in this movie. And that's a good idea to also include in a book sometime. Our last example that I'm going to talk showing you what an A goal for a story looks like is The Lord of the Rings. Now this is a large cast and there's a lot of different goals intermixed, so we're going to focus on the two main characters, Frodo and Sam. So Frodo is an A goal character throughout the entire trilogy. He has one goal in mind, which is to get rid of that ring, get it to Mordor, and put it in that volcano. And that's what all of his choices are made from, and all of his actions and what everyone is trying to stop him from doing. So that one's really clear to see. And Sam, his main goal the whole time is to help Frodo, to help his best friend. And you can see that he does not waver from that goal. And he is challenged. And that goal is set up so that it was hard for him to accomplish sometimes, especially when we introduce Gollum. So this is a really good example of two characters from that story that had very clear A goals. Okay, now we're going to switch and we're going to talk about stories that have A, B goals. So that means they have one specific goal that's really strong and important to them, and then at some point in the story it flip-flops and they end up with a B goal, which is what they try and accomplish in the end. Okay, so our first example of this is the movie Willow, not to be confused with the TV series, but the actual movie is Willow's goal is to take that baby to its own kind. That's how it starts at the beginning. He needs to get back to his family, so he's got to get rid of that baby. But as we watch the story, we see things flip-flop. And instead of just getting rid of the baby, getting it to its own kind, they have this new goal, Willow and all of his friends he meets along the way, to defeat the evil queen, Bavmorda. And so this shows a very clear example of a goal that flip-flops in the middle of the story, but makes the story even more fun. Another example is X-Men Wolverine. Okay, so at the very beginning of this story, Wolverine just wants to stay out of it. He doesn't want to be on a team. He doesn't want to be involved. He just is like, leave me alone. This isn't my family. I don't want to be a part of this. But then, as we know, things flip-flop. And he ends up strapping on an X-Men suit, joining the X-Men and saving Rogue in the end. So he has a goal that flip-flops in the middle. Another really good example is Runaway Bride with Graham. So this is a really fun rom-com movie where his goal at the very beginning, which is his goal A, is to prove that Maggie is a man-eater and she is terrible and he wants to destroy her basically. And then he actually falls in love with her, and his B goal ends up being to win Maggie's heart in the end. And that is a huge big difference. You can absolutely see the flip-flop there. So I'm going to do another example because I guess I really like A/B stories today, is the movie Lord of the Rings. If you think about it, we talked about Frodo and Sam being those characters who have just A goals, but we have other characters like Aragorn, for example, who has an A goal at the very beginning, which is to help, Frodo and his friends. But then when Frodo and Sam break off, they go after Merry and Pippin and other sorts of goals and battles and things, and so they have a flip-flop where the goal A no longer matters as much because goal B wins and is more important. And my last example is from Wreck-It Ralph, because I adore this movie. It is so much fun. But if you think about it, Ralph is all about getting his medal, all about making himself a hero. That is all that matters until something changes and it flip-flops. And it's instead about taking care of his friend and becoming a part of something that's bigger than just himself. And it is an amazing flip-flop, and it's so fun to see that in the story. Isn't that amazing? So the question to ask yourself is, do you have an A story where you're gonna have a story goal that stays the same the whole way? Or do you have an A-B story where you have a story goal that goes to here, something flip-flops, and then the B goal finishes it out? I am so excited for you and figuring out your story goals. I would love to hear if you have any other examples, because it is so much fun to find them. I know that I love it. Every time I watch a movie, I'm like, ooh, this is an A goal, or this is an A-B goal. Ooh, it's fun. So go ahead and leave those in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe for more content, and join me for more questions about writing and the wonderful world of being an author. Thanks so much. Bye.